Peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine heirs. Today is March the 7th, 1441 on the sun calendar. And, 1441 on the ancient moon calendar. It's 1440 on the sun calendar, and it's 2021 on the Greco-Roman calendar. And one thing that we want to get right into, a couple of weeks ago, actually it's been about a week and a half, almost 2 weeks, that I said that I was going to publish the papers, the documents from when I was detained, and they were attempting to have me to claim the court. And the corpse is, you know, the all caps name in black, all capitalized name in black ink. And I said I was going to publish everything simply because we need to know that process, because we're going to be doing that process after a while. So we want to look at the process carefully as a nation, and we want to discuss it and put it in some order so that we see how things go. Now, I will say this, if we could remove all emotion, or as much emotion as we can, if we could just remove the emotion from this demonstration and the documents that we're going to be showing, simply because emotion makes it so that you can't really see what's really being said. And we want to be able to see what's really being said in the document, okay? So I'm going to put a link to the documents in the chat so that everyone can see them. And then we'll talk about the whole thing, everything that has to do with how we're going to be proceeding. And even, when Moors are detained, what really should be happening. And when we talk about what should be happening, we're talking about all of this from the perspective of how we're going to do it. And that's really going to be our focus today. Is we know it's been being done wrong. We know that already. So now let's see how we can do it the right way, because it has to be done the right way, and this is our land. We have to do it, and it has to be done. And we, the Moors have to do it, and there's no other way around that. We're the only ones who can do it. So, and we're going to take it slow, one step at a time. Everything's going to be done safely, and we're going to look at the way that the foreign hybrids started out. We're going to look at the way they started out, and then what we'll do is discuss how they started, because, they had quite the task in starting to arrest the heirs. That was something. And I'm sure that at some point it looked as monumental to them as it may look to some of us. It may look like a monumental task, but when we break it down the way we're going to break it down, it's not going to be monumental at all, okay? So let me go ahead and put in the chat the documents from when I was taken, so that we can all look at them. And then I'll put them up on the screen also, okay, so that we can see. Because we need to know this process. And, this is something we've needed to do for a while, is just look at what's being done from a strategic, and not just from a strategy perspective, but also from the perspective of, okay, we have been saying that we want the citizens you know, either to get in alignment with the supreme law of the land or get off the land, right? We've been saying that. So let's take a look at what's being done and how we can do it, because we know that, you know, we've been misidentified every single time that any one of us has been taken and detained. We've been misidentified the entire time. And we want to make sure, I'm putting 2 links in the chat because those are the 2 documents, sets of documents that we're going to look at. But we've been misidentified every single time. And that is not something that they're not unaware of. They know that they've been misidentifying us. They know that. But we had to know who we were first. And now that we know who we are, thanks to our awesome teachers and then our own study and us meeting together and talking like this and coming together and continuing to meet day in and day out so that we can work through the issues that we have on our land and look at the things that look monumental so we can break them all the way down to they had to start somewhere. That's where we're breaking everything down to, is they have to start somewhere. We have to start somewhere. And it's going to be peaceful. It's going to be peaceful. For the most part, it will be peaceful because they know their place on the land. And we're doing everything we can in terms of forewarning. And it's not really a warning, it's proper notification that, okay, the systems and everything is changing. It's our turn now, so you all better get in subject status because we're going to govern the land, period, because it's ours. Now, the things that we're going to be looking at today, they've been doing it the whole time, and they've been looking at it the whole time. And if you look into, just take a peek out there on social media and on, you know, YouTube and different places like that, you will see that all of a sudden in the last few years, maybe the last 2 or 3 years, there's been an increase, a significant increase in the number of quote-unquote militias that have popped up on our land. That is because they see that their protection, which was the policy enforcers and was the military, that protection is not there like it used to be. Why is that? Well, there's a lot of defunding going on, and defunding is not something that they're doing voluntarily. That's something that's happening as a result of the liens that the Moors have been filing against the policy enforcers, which is another arm of their USA corporation military. It is a paramilitary group. Now, again, we don't have to do things the way they did things. We don't have to do it that way because that's not the peaceful way to do anything. It's not even competent. But we want to just start looking. Let's just take a look at it. We're not going to do anything drastic right now. Right now, we just need to start looking in this direction. Okay? That's what we need to do. And just take a look and see, okay, what does this consist of? What are we talking about here? You know, because when we first started talking about the law enforcement piece, you know, we had people saying, you know, 1 or 2, not many, because the more, I think we're ready. In fact, I know we're ready for this piece to be implemented. But we want to ensure that we're safe first because the estate is based on us, and that it's a peaceful transition. The transition entails all. Now, we've had some who said, you know, what do you mean? Y'all just going to show up in white turbans and think people are just going to do what you say? Yes. Except it's more entailed than that. It's more detailed than that. Just like they had us trained to do whatever they say when they showed up and all they did was show up or threaten to show up or send something in the mail saying you got to be here or we're going to issue some more paper. And they weren't even talking to us. They were talking to other citizens. So all this time they've been doing citizen arrest. They haven't even been arresting the heirs. And this last detainment, I was able to see that they're not talking to us at all. And when we speak, they have to listen. They know that. But we have to be competent about it. And that's why we're going to do it this way, where we can look at the process, see what they've been doing, and then, you know, go from there. See how they got started, because really what they started with was when the Moors went to sleep. They first started with overseers, quote unquote overseers. And those overseers, without documents or anything, would go out, and anybody that looked like us, they would be like, oh, you got to be escaped from somewhere. So we just going to take you. And then the Moors started saying, well, hold up, I have rights. And then Dred Scott came, and he did his thing, but he did it. That was not, he was plaintiff in error. In other words, he was going in as a citizen when he should have been going in as a sovereign Moorish American. And he really shouldn't have been going in. We should have been still having our courts going. And that's what this is all about also, is that we've got our courts going. And I'm so grateful for that. Our Moorish American consular courts are really, really in full swing. And that's why you see the changes that you're seeing on both sides. And so with our courts, we have to have the enforcement piece. It must be there. It has to be there. And so far, from what I've seen, even from going in to that detainment, it was worth every day that I was there, I'm telling you, because what I saw in there, just at our word, I didn't even have a bunch of affidavits with me. I had sent affidavits previous to going in there, liens and court actions, etc. So by the time I got there, the liens and the court actions were already in place. So then all I had to do was seek the court action, and they did what we told them to do. That's what this is all about. That's why we have to be proactive instead of reactive. And so let's take a look now at just the paperwork, because in their paperwork, in their documents, we know their documents are fraudulent. We know that. I'm not even mad about that, because they had to listen to what I said. You know, and I proved who I was. So they couldn't attach the fraud to me. So after proving who I was day in and day out while I was there, they finally had to, you know, okay, she's exactly who she said she was. So we gotta get her out of here. And so I took all of the documents because I know this is a learning thing. And of course, nothing was signed by me, nothing was autographed by me, and you'll see that in the documents. And the documents don't even address the sovereign heirs. It does not address me properly. So they knew it was a misidentification, but how else are we going to learn that system? We have to learn it in order to do it. So let's look at the documents. I'll pull them up on the screen. Let's see. Of all that they put out there. I wanted to make sure that I took everything so that I could put it in some type of order for us to be able to look at it and develop the process by affidavit. So we need to have it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. First we do this, then we do this, then we do this, and then we do this. Okay? So there are a lot of untruths in the document, like, you know, and I'll point some of that out, but to me that's not the important part, because we know that they're not talking to us. The importance of this is so that we learn the process. so that we look at the process and put a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like we do with all of our other processes, so that we put those processes in place, okay? And we're just going to put them in place. No one has to go out and do anything yet, but at some point we will have to do it. You know, at some point we will, because there are people who are claiming property and they don't belong in that property. And many of you have claimed properties. And some of the properties, no one's even in it, but we can't go there unless we can keep it. And it will be peaceful. I can tell you that it'll be peaceful because it's been peaceful here. Everyone has to, everyone has to remain peaceful. And those people will do those hybrids will do exactly what we tell them to do when we're peaceful and when we're competent. So most of you have probably seen the video where I talked about how everything happened, the detainment and everything. And if you haven't, please go watch it, because it just shows you how powerful we really are. Because we actually have a choice in whether we're detained or not. I know people don't think we do, but we have a choice. We can choose not to be detained. We put ourselves on a do not detain list, and I'm going to prove that today. But let's look at what the documents that they gave, and we'll just point out, I'll tell you right now, they did not find no wet ink signatures from them even for what they did. No wet ink signatures. There was there's a copy signature that was on 2 or 3 of the documents, but it was the same signature those 2 or 3 times. Someone who's not, and clearly this one knows that she's not real, because even her fake title was not a real title, you know. But we'll look at it. So the first thing that I'm going to show, and I just scanned everything in so we could look at it, because this stuff has to be looked at. It has to be looked at. We have to look at it. Let me just see. I believe that this is okay. Can you see a pink document on the screen? If you could just in the chat, let me know if you can see. Okay, good. Okay, good. So now let's look at the document on the screen. This is, again, the first thing that they were supposed to give that day. So we have to keep this in mind, that we're supposed to give them, when we see a crime happen on our land, or there's suspicion of a crime, and there's a difference between how those two are done. So let's just say that we saw a foreign hybrid on property that belongs to the heirs, and we call the Moorish police, the Moorish vanguard, and we say, hey, there's a trespasser on our property. Well, the vanguard is going to bring a document with our logos on top, government logos on top, and everything. And it's going to we have already, all of the codes for any crimes that are committed on our land are already there. All we have to do is put them in red, in all lowercase, or in red, rather. Yes, put the codes in red in all lowercase letters, and then, you know, tailor them to what we're doing. And then when we arrest the hybrids or whomever that's breaking the law on our land, we want to be sure that we put them in their proper place too, with black ink and capital letters. But if you'll notice on here, on this document, the first thing I saw that was really kind of interesting was where it says here, business name, it says vacant building. And then there's a case number, supposedly, you know, and a date, etc. And then this address, and you know, the place that it was at, the address has about 3 or 4 different addresses, because it used to be an apartment place, and then they knocked them down, changed it to something else, and put a building up. They say the building is vacant, but that's not true. That was a lie. But that's okay. We're not concerned about the lies because we know they're lies. But here it says the below named person, so we know they're not talking to us, has been informed that he, she is forbidden to enter above listed property. Now, all property at America belongs to the heirs. So when we write up our documents in order to trespass someone who is not an heir, we're going to have to keep all of this in mind about how to say this in a manner that is according to, we're going to elevate everything we say up to the Constitution and the treaty. Okay, so we don't really even have to use codes and statutes. We're using the Constitution and the treaty. And then we have to properly identify them. Okay, here it's, says some things in capital letters. This notice is valid permanently in capital letters, so we know that has nothing to do with the heirs, but we're going to have to note all of this on our document. Subject signature. See, they put subject signature. We'll have to use that same language, except we're going to spell it the way we spell it. And then it says refuse served in person. Well, we're not persons. We're the people. We're the Moors. So we know that this system again is made for them. And this is the same language that we will be using. And then, it says name, and this is why we don't fill out their forms, because if you say you have a name, then you're automatically a subject. See, they know that already. So note that, that's important. Subject signature, name, address, city, state, zip. We don't have zip codes. We don't have addresses. We don't have names because we're not subject. See how that works? So if you're filling out their forms and you say you have a name, then they can attach that same name to something like this. And then, of course, they have, other information here. Race is B. That's what they said for their subject. Well, we know that there's a black. And so we're not mad about that because we know who we are. But we're going to have to keep this in mind here as well, because if the race is anything other than black, then we need to be looking at jurisdiction. Because if the race is, if it's a Moor that has done something, then this is going to be totally different from that. We would use different documents altogether. Altogether. Now, why am I saying anything about arresting Moors? Well, we're not there yet because, we're just not there. Right now, and we hope we never have to do that. Never have to do that. Because the Moors, as we continue to raise our frequency, things are going to change for us from the inside out. But we still do have to get our lands in alignment. So our focus is not going to be on Moors. It's going to be on the hybrid foreign occupation, those who are unlawfully occupying our land, okay? And then they will say, we have to put the reason in. Again, our documents are not going to be in capital letters like this. It's going to be in all lowercase letters in red. And then we will have, a place to sign. This is not a signature. That's not a signature. That's written in manuscript. Okay, so this is not even a valid signature. And then there's no seal or anything like that on here. No seal, no stamp, no nothing. We have to have seals and stamps on our documents. We're going to have to do that. So, and then here it says reason for trespass remained unlawfully on private property. And we know there's no such thing as private property on our sovereign land. There's no such thing as private property on our land. The Moors have eminent dominion on the land of all property. We have eminent dominion of all of it. And so citizens cannot claim private property and all of that stuff. And that's another reason why, they ended up, we walked right out of there because none of this really has anything to do with us. But we do have to look at it and note it the way that they note it because we're going to be talking to the citizens. Okay. So this is document number 1 where there has to be something that they've done that we see, a crime committed in our presence. Okay. Then the next thing is going to be a citation. So this is the notice of trespass. It's a notice. It's notifying. So they use the notification process, and we have to use the notification process also. And then right here, it says, on oath, the below officer states that on the above date, a copy of this notice was given to the above -listed subject. They probably did give it to their subject. The sovereign national, me, I didn't receive anything like that until I voluntarily took it because we need to look at it. And they know that we need to look at it too. They also returned all of my affidavits to me in the proper order that they were given. And then after you give notice, then there is a citation that happens. Okay, and this is the citation. It's sideways, and again, it doesn't have a signature on it at all from them. No signature, and then here it's we're going to have to be looking at all of this. So please download these documents so that you can see them and have them and be able to look at them and refer back to them, because at our next law enforcement summit, we're going to be writing these up as if we were writing up one of the citizens for trespassing on our land, because that's actually going to be the main, probably the main issue that we have with them is trespassing, because they're not supposed to be on our land. Not like that. They're supposed to be in specific places and certainly not on the property of the Moors. Okay, so again, we're taking a moment just to look at the process so that we can put the process in some order so that we will know what to do, because this is going to be really important in continuing the progress that we've made so far, because we've made some great progress, Moors. We've made some awesome progress in a very short time. We want to keep that going so that everything on our land, the transition continues, and we remain peaceful. Okay. So we'll look more at that. And then this was something that they did, and I think a lot of this was done after I was at the SCORE jail, which was the third place that they had taken me, and that was where I spent the majority of the time that I was detaining there. So then we're going to have to take in property. When we take them in, we have to take in property. This document here, they did this document. It was done long after I was gone from this place, Kent Corrections Facility. But that's neither here nor there. We have to look at the process. When we take things in, take in the citizens, when we take in citizens who are trespassing or whatever the crime may be, we have to give an account of everything, or give a count of everything that we take in from them at the time. So again, here, item number 1, there was no cash because we don't do fiat. I don't do fiat. As often as possible, I try not to do it. So they weren't going to find any of that on me anyway. A set of keys, a cell phone, gloves, headwear, which was my turban, shirt, 2 shirts, 1 pair of pants, 1 pair of boots. So again, we have to make sure that we account for each and everything that they bring in. And then these numbers up here, these booking numbers and jail IDs and all of that, we're going to use the same system that they use, except our system is going to be in red and all lowercase letters for us. And then when we're talking about them, it's going to be like this. It's going to be in all black letters and all capital letters, because that's where the debt lies. They're the debt, not the creditor. We're the creditors. So everything that we do is in red. So we weren't concerned about, any of this, because we know who we really are. Okay. So, and of course, there was no signature. Down here, officer, inmate, receiving person, no signature nowhere on here at all. They didn't really want to sign anything as they were going through this process, and I understand why they didn't want to sign anything. And they had already been leaned anyway. And then here, when we bring them in, okay, we need to be getting them to a speedy trial as soon as possible. People don't need to be waiting around. If we take them in on a Friday, and then Monday is one of our holy days of, observance, maybe let's just say, for example, if the 21st of March was that Monday and we took that time off, that's almost too much time for people to wait in order to see one of us justices, okay? So we want to do the speedy trial on everyone, and that can be done electronically. And one of the improvements that I saw that could be done is that in the holding cell, because see, like I said on the original, when I was giving my testament of the powerful experiences that I had in there, all of the cells are courtrooms anyway. So they're designed for us to do things where law is concerned. We just didn't know that. Now we know that we can do court anywhere. See, they've always known that we can hold court anywhere. We can hold court anywhere, on the side of the road, in a cell, anywhere. We did it. So they just designed all the cells like courtrooms. It has a bench and a bar. All cells have a bench and a bar. So we can expedite things by putting a screen, and it can be a retractable screen, and this is something that they need to hear, because they're going to have to do this. Either they can do it or we can do it. But there's going to have to be some screens, retractable screens that maybe come out of the wall or something like that, or can be projected onto the wall, whereby they can, when we bring them in, they can see one of the justices, the Moorish justices, within 24 hours. Because that's really only how long someone is supposed to be in a holding cell, is only 24 hours. And then they're supposed to see a justice within that 24 hours so that it can be determined whether they stay there or not, and all of that. So we have to prepare and have justices ready to appear on the screen at any time. Yes, black is for the dead. And I wouldn't say I was abducted, because I could have easily just not gone. And I'm going to show you too where we can actually refuse to go with them. We didn't know we could refuse, but we can. And I'll show you that in once we go through these documents. I have another set of documents that I want to show you. But yes, so this is the only way that they could show what needs to be done, because they can't do it in red in our lowercase letters. So they did it this way. And, we did our court action, and that was it. We didn't have to worry about all this stuff. However, we have to look at it and we have to learn it. So again, we can do a speedy trial, but Moors, that's why all Moors are consuls and justices anyway. We're going to need each and every one of us, okay, we're going to need each and every one of us to get in our get our justice turbans on so that at any time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, we can appear on the screen and hold them accountable. Or if there's been an arrest of a citizen and they've been detained and they say, oh, whatever they say, whatever their defense is, or whatever, and we find that, okay, they're not a danger, but they can't go back to that property or whatever. So then we can issue our ruling right then and there and then send them on their way. A lot of them are going to need mental help, and we know that already because we see that going on in those places. And thankfully, we have the documents here that are going to show us how to do that too, okay? And that's another reason why a lot of what was done, okay? So that we would know how to do it. So, and if you'll notice here, it says mandatory in-person or Zoom court appearance. And we didn't go to any of this because we had already done court actions while we were in there, and they were honoring our sovereign status. But I guess they still did their thing, whatever they were going to do, while I was there. But I didn't appear in any of their court rulings. When they said, when the guy held up the phone on the first day and said, this is your court, I held court, sentenced them the way I sentenced them, and that was it. And then after that, I was doing court actions every day while I was in there. So they were appearing in our court every day. Throughout the whole day, that's all I did was court actions. Every time somebody came by, I did a court action on them. And guess what? They had to go away and not do what they planned on doing. So we can't even say, no one ever shows up in those fake courts of yours. Can't say that anymore because they were there. And they did exactly what we told them to do every time. And so that's another way that our ancestors know that we're ready to move to the next level. So they said, okay, if you're ready to go to the next level, this is where you go next. And they've given us a couple of different things that we need to do for this next level. But this is one of them, is start looking at this process. So, yeah, I never went to any of this. But what I did do, there is the signature, and it wasn't even a wet ink signature. It was a copy of something. I don't know if they were copying. They had a stamp where they were just stamping something or whatever. I don't know, because the 3 times that signature appeared, it just looked like the same signature that they stamped on something and then ran a copy and gave it. Never got a wet ink signature. Never got any seal of any kind, because our documents have seals and stamps on them. That's what makes them sovereign living documents. We actually have to keep that going in the cases of these citizens when we start bringing them in. So here, this was here, there was some, and that's not even a whole signature, so you can tell they lifted it off of one thing and put it on something else. It says Judge Pro Tem. Judge Pro Tem. Pro Tem, what does that mean? That just means you're not a real judge. You're not a real justice, okay? But we know that, and again, that's not even, we're not even focused on that simply because we've known that from day one. And then here's another one. They assigned another case number. This is the same thing. Mandatory in-person or Zoom court appearance. And when they say mandatory, again, they put mandatory in all capital letters, so that means we don't have to be there because they're not talking to us. And so we didn't go at all. We were just doing court actions ourselves. And then this is the third one where they said something, scheduling order, speedy expiration. Well, we gave them the speedy expiration by doing our own court action. Okay? And when we did our own court action, that's as speedy as you can get. We did that the first day. Then we went in and continued to have them show up in our court, because every time they showed up at the door, they were in court. Every time they showed up at the door of my courtroom cell, they were in court. And I just started the court action. I didn't even wait for them to start running their mouth. So here it says something about a competency hearing, etc. You know, we know we're competent. They didn't even spell competence right. But then here, this is important right here. If you look at this top here, it says defendant was served by transport officers in lieu of signature due to COVID-19. I don't know what that means. I do know that they never got an autograph from me on anything, nothing. And more, we gotta stop signing things for convenience. I didn't care how long I had to be in there. They were not going to get an autograph from me on anything except an affidavit that I crafted myself. And since I couldn't craft the affidavits in there, I spoke them. Period. Never will you get an autograph because that's a sandwich. When we give them our autograph, they eat for weeks. Their whole family eats for weeks. And the longer you, and if you sign stuff, they're like, yeah, we can eat off of this one for a minute, so let's hold them for a while. Let's hold them because they keep signing stuff. And we can just turn that in and get us a whole, ooh, we can eat. No, more, not for convenience, not to get out quick, none of that. Right, in the chat. What they gonna do if you don't sign? Put you in jail? Exactly. If you're already in there, why would you keep yourself in there longer? By signing stuff. That's why please don't sign bonds to get out. Don't do that. We see what happens when you sign a bond. They're like, yes, we going on, like just like you said in the chat, Justice, eat and vacation for months. Don't do it more. Just hang in there for as long and just stand on your square. And I tell you what, they will have to let you go. But if people if the Moors keep signing things and giving them sandwiches, you're just going to stay in there longer and longer and longer. And if you sign a bail thing, that they might let you out, but these days they're not even doing that. They say you can sign that, and then you know what they'll say? When you cop to that name, they go back and pull all this other stuff up, and they say, okay, we're going to let you go, but this other jail wants you now. And, oh, this jail back over here wants you too. Oh, and this one over here wants you too since you saying you're a corpse. Don't sign that stuff. Do not autograph their stuff. I don't care how long they have to, you have to stand on your square. You just got to stand more. We just have to stand. And you will see when we stand, our ancestors are going to do what is right by us. They're not going to let us suffer for very long, but they just want to know that we're standing. We don't care how long it takes. We're going to stand. So, don't do it. I can't tell Moors, you can't tell the sovereigns what to do, but we've been saying that for a while, and I'll tell you this, every Moor that I know who bailed out went back. Every Moor who signed a bail document ended up going back. And I don't want to see that happen to any more of us. I don't want to see that happen to anyone. Yes, in the chat, names are for animals. That's why they put that stuff on there. Names are for animals. So now notice now, and this is why we say what we say about those capital letters, okay? Because our Grand Sheik talked about, he mentioned capital letters this past Friday about not using them. He mentioned that this Friday at House of Reawakening Minds, and I was screaming at the screen, teach Grand Sheik, because we can't do that. When they put things in capital letters, and that's another reason why I don't wear a mask, because all of the signs say masks are required, and it's in all capital letters. Okay, you're not talking to the air. That ain't in red and in lowercase letters, so you're certainly not talking to me. I don't understand corporate English. I speak ancient English, period. Let me see. There was something I wanted to show you all also, and it'll come up in the next couple of documents. But again, you know, they said, you know, defendant was served by transport officers in lieu of signature due to COVID-19. Well, what part of COVID-19 will keep the living autographs off of paper? Nothing. We decide whether we're going to autograph something or not. But see, they didn't even ask me to sign anything because they knew I wasn't. When they came and that day and was putting handcuffs on me, the first thing the guy said was, "I know why you're doing what you're doing." That told me he knew who we were already. He knew that they better not say nothing about no signature. Because no, you're not getting nothing. I don't care if I got to be in here for however long, you're not getting a signature from me, because I know you eat off of those. So if I got anything to do with it, you will not be eating. Islam. You will not. Let me see. In the chat, it has to be repeated often because you must be bailing out the top the self. Yes. Justice put in the chat, Justice Jill put in the chat, bailout has to be repeated often because you must keep bailing out to stop the cell from sinking. Yes, those are water terms, sea terms, lost at sea. When you bail, that means that you keep taking the water in your pail and throwing it overboard, and the water keeps coming in and you're drowning and you're going to be lost at sea. That's exactly what that is when you bail out. That means you out for 5 minutes, and then they already know where to find you. So don't do it. Do not claim that corpse. Don't claim anything, and I've been seeing more claiming it, thinking that they are getting some type of benefit by getting bank accounts with all capital letters in black. Don't do it, because when you accept that debt, then they're going to attach all the other stuff that you claimed previously. When the bills, the debt, and all of that stuff, they attach all of that, and they say, okay, you said you were that over here. If you're a corpse over here, you're a corpse over there too. We can't do that. So here, when they say things like false statement to a public servant, it's in all capital letters. That means that's not really what happened. And as you'll notice here, they say something about bail type and bail amount. If you will notice, not one single document do they say a bail was paid. Because unless they got it from this corpse right here, and this corpse is at Guantanamo Bay because that's where we sent her, unless she came from over there and paid something, we don't bail out and ain't going to bail out. Period. Now look here. The decision regarding jail location, emergency medical releases, and dates of post-conviction incarceration and release, including good time credit, will be decided by the jail, the Federal Way Police Department, or their designees. Does that sound like a real justice is going to be deciding what happened? No. They're saying that any old court, if the policy enforcers say that the janitor can hold you in there, the janitor will say, oh, well, they said I can't open the cell, so I guess you have to stay here until next month. Really? More? Don't sign that stuff. I'm telling you, don't sign it. And that's just, I'm just making suggestions. Don't do it. It ain't worth it. And then here is another part of that. Here they're saying something about, what they were saying that this corpse has to give them, etc. None of that ever happened. I never saw any of this. The corpse may have seen it, but since that's not me, never once did they didn't slide none of this under the door because it was our corpse. So none of these documents did I see until after I walked out of there. And when I walked out of there, I took as much as I could get. I was hoping to get as much paper as I could so we could study the process and look at it. And then I knew that whatever it is that I got, I said I'm going to publish it so that we can look at it and see. And look at this, criminal trespass, second degree, criminal trespass in the second degree. So they got like a couple of little descriptions for their court, going on here. And again, all we will do is take these and put them in all lowercase letters in red. And then we can use the codes and statutes, but they will be our codes and statutes, and they won't be these fraudulent ones. And when we do that, then we put their names in black ink. And most likely their names will be in capitis diminutio minima, which means that the first letter will be capitalized and the rest of the letters will be small, because that's how you do with subject. And let me go back up to that first pink page. See, this is how you know they know that. On this first page right here in pink, where it says name, or it says subject signature, they know that when you write it like this, it's a subject, where the first letter is capitalized and then the rest of the letters are lowercase letters. And then right here where it says address, they put in capital letters LKA, which stands for last known address. Okay? And then, see, so they know how to use capitalism and the capitalization. Look, they put WA in all capital letters. And so they know that this is a subject right here, which is still not, that's not the heirs. And I'll tell you this more, again, when we say, when I said I am Pauline Denise Ritchie in capitis diminutio nolo in red ink in propria persona sui juris in proprio solo and in proprio heredes, when you say it like that, they can't attach this to you. Believe me, they wanted to, but they couldn't, because every time I say in capitis diminutio nolo, they knew that we can't use any capital letters to hold her, so they had to let me go. You know, and after what I saw in there, they weren't holding me anyway. After what I saw that we're able to do with our court actions, and again, none of this has any valid signature on it. This right here was a copy, and look, they listed it off front because part of it is not even shown on here. So ain't no telling, she may not have had anything to do with any of this. They probably just listed her signature off of something else. I don't know. I don't know, because I didn't ever see any, you know, I saw one fake judge, and that was because she came to the cell, and I told you all about that. She came to the cell and got a court action, and she hightailed it out of there. So now we'll go back to these right here. Again, you know, when we bring them in, we have to issue a commitment command. That means, and see, when they say commitment order, they're wanting to know that whoever it is that they're holding has made a commitment to them. See, this is deceptive language. That's why you can't autograph anything, because then you are making a commitment to them to pay these things and to be this fake defendant with a name. That's why we can't do that. We should never, you know, commit to being the court. I don't care what kind of benefit they say they're giving you. They're not giving you a benefit. You're the creditor. So why would you commit to being a court? And then when you commit to being the all caps name, even if you say I'm the all caps name because I'm starting a bank account, if you don't put it in red in all lowercase letters by sovereign affidavit on Moorish government letterhead, know that they don't give a crap about anything else you say. They're going to put you in that subject status, and then they're going to pick up the phone and call all the agents, principals, heirs, assigns, and any derivatives thereof and say, hey, jailer, guess who I have here who just signed a contract with us in black using capital letters. Okay, we'll wait about a month, and then you know what their address is, and you know where to go and get it. Because I see in the system that you have something there, that you're waiting for them to sign something, a contract so you can pick them up, or you have a bail document that they sign. Well, this is their new address. That's why we can't do it. There's a better way for the sovereign to do everything we need to do. There's a better way. All we have to do is be patient and keep doing what we're doing. The answers are already here. I'm telling you, they're already here for us to do everything we need to do. So now, let's look at some of the craziness that I saw in some of these documents. Yeah, this is the third or fourth. Yeah, the third. Let's see. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that was the third something that they were claiming the courts needed to do, or, you know, something like that, some codes and statutes for the courts. And of course, the courts couldn't sign anything, and the living was not going to autograph anything either, you know, so they made up a COVID-19 excuse for that. And, you know, I thought that was kind of funny. Here, now, this is important right here, too, because our court affidavit, if you'll notice, here, they say order for competency evaluation, okay? And then they said that there needs to be an interpreter because I was speaking Latin and ancient English and French and Turkish. So I was speaking 4 different languages. Never once did I speak corporate English. Not one time did I speak corporate English. Whenever we talk and whenever we write, because even the things that I was writing in there were written in ancient English. So now they're saying, well, there has to be an interpreter for this court. You know, I don't know what kind of interpreter they want to get for a court, because corpses don't talk, but okay. And then here, this matter came before the court on the motion of the court. So see, none of these were trying to say anything. No, none of that. Who has reason to doubt the defendant's competency based on a good faith belief. Now, we don't do feelings and beliefs, we do the law. Competency based on a good faith belief that as a result of a mental disease or defect, the defendant may lack the capacity to understand the proceedings and know the heirs do not understand any of that stuff. We don't stand on anything they say. But again, they're not talking about us. They're talking about this corpse right here. Okay. Let's see. Just a moment. Just a moment. Let me just see. Yes, we were going to need that if they were going to do it properly, which they can't do it. Let's see. Hang on just a second. Let me just see here. Let me see where we are. Okay. I think it may even be time to lock the meeting. So I'm going to go ahead and lock it for now. Okay. Now, where are we? Let me go back to the document. Okay. Let me make sure you can see too. Just a moment. Okay, good. Everything is still there. Okay. So, again, I never saw any of this. I never heard from them. And again, anyone who came by my courtroom cell, they got court action. So I never saw any of this stuff while I was in there. But they knew they weren't talking to me, and they knew I knew that they weren't talking to me. So here they put the non-felony crime of violation of no contact order, and there's a blank here. There's really nothing there. And none of the non-felony charges are a serious offense as defined, blah, 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 blah. You know, and again, we're not worried about any of this because they're not talking to us, but we have to know how to put this in writing on our affidavit, on our arrest affidavit when we take them in. And we're going to develop some templates the same way we've done all along. We've developed templates for everything that we do. And we're going to develop templates for this process, these processes as we bring them in so that we will know. And then there'll be a code book of sovereign codes that all the Moors have to do is go to a website or go to a link that they'll have and pull up the codes and say, okay, this is what we're charging them with. Okay. And then if we will evaluate them, we'll have a Moorish scientist who can evaluate them, their mental state and all of that to see if they're mentally competent to stand as subjects. And that's why we say all rise and stand, because we need to see if they're competent to stand trial according to the treaty and the Constitution. Okay, so let's see, the following additional, they clicked another X box here, the following additional information supports the request for evaluation. And then I found this pretty interesting. It says, defendant has displayed delusional behavior and counsel has not been able to have any substantive discussion with the defendant about his case. The defendant cannot assist in his defense in counsel's opinion. So this is cookie cutter. You know, we know that they pulled this off of a, you know, a cookie cutter thing because again, they're not really competent to be doing anything that has to do with law enforcement or anything like that. They're not competent to do that. So they pull cookie cutter stuff out there, and you know, they paste it onto the document, you know, and then you look at the bottom of the document and it's not signed, you know. Let's see, and then you can take the time and read these documents if you want to look more into the language that we're going to be using where evaluating them is concerned and who's going to evaluate them, because we have competent Moorish doctors and nurses who can do that, scientists, and I prefer the word Moorish scientists as opposed to doctors and nurses, but, you know, we can use whatever term because all terms belong to us initially anyway. And we can determine, for starters, there's only really going to be exactly in the chat. You know, they're not competent to do all this stuff that they've been doing on our land. I know they're probably wondering, it took y'all long enough to figure out that we don't know what the heck we're doing. You know, they don't know what they're doing. Yes, and in the chat, and I'm going to laugh at that, but I'm not going to read it out loud. So let's look down a little further in these documents, and you can see that, you know, there was someone doing business as a defense attorney saying the evaluation may proceed without the defense attorney present if notice has been provided. I don't know anything. I never spoke to anyone about this, but again, they're not talking about me. They were talking about their court. And whoever this was chose not to be present anyway, you know, and they've been lean, so we're not worried about that either. But again, we have to determine as a nation, and as we start moving in this direction, yes, Empress Patricia. And again, you know, anybody that came by my courtroom, they got court action. So I don't, you know, all that other stuff, I don't know. That's them. That's their stuff. But they're teaching us how to govern, so we're looking at it. So here, with this, as a nation, we are going to have to determine. Now, again, lawyers and things like that, lawyers and attorneys, they can't do anything in our court. So the citizens are going to have to speak for themselves. Because lawyers and fake judges and all of that, there's no such thing as a bar exam and a bar card and all of that stuff when the real law is on the land. The only reason that those people even came here is because we stopped just being the justices and judges and the law and the enforcement. That's the only reason they showed up here. And now that we're standing, you see them going bye-bye. That's how this works. When we start doing our job of governing this vast estate, no one else is going to be, they're not going to, no. We do this. But the estate will never go ungoverned. We've always been the government. Yes, in the chat, everyone has to stand on their own 2 feet. These foreign hybrids that are on this landmass, in subject status, okay, they are in subject status for a reason, okay. They're going to have to know the Constitution, and that's why we're teaching constitutional law. Because they're going to have to know the Constitution, and they're going to have to live by it. And they're going to have to be able to quote it, and we're going to have to minister it. Thank you. We're going to have to minister the Constitution. So, and believe me, they know it. They know who gave it to them. But for the Moors who may not know who gave them the Constitution, House Resolution 331, 100th Congress, second session tells you that we, the Anasazi, the Iroquois, gave it to them. That we gave George Washington and Thomas Jefferson the Constitution, and guess what they did? They framed it. That means they put it in a frame. That's about it. And then they hypothecated what they saw and called it the United States Corporation Company Constitution in capital letters and black ink. That's what they did. Yes, in the chat, everyone must abide and dine under their own vine and fig tree. These Albion hybrids, they must know the Constitution, and then when we call them into our court, they're coming because guess what? We're going to take our court right on out there on this landmass. If we have to do it that way, we'll do it. And as it turns out, the first hybrids to even appear in our sovereign court appeared because I was there on our land, of course, still, but I had to go to them and call them into court. And every time they thought they were coming to do some action, they got court action instead. So they had no choice but to stand there and appear in our court. And if we have to do it that way, I guess we'll be all out at the grocery store and everywhere else doing court actions on these people. Then they can't say, yes, enforcement. They had to, she said they had to kidnap me to get their court actions. Look, whatever it takes, I'm okay with, you know, I'm good with that piece right there because that's the first time they appeared. And I've done court actions. I've been doing court actions almost 2 years now. Let me see. My first court action was in 2018. And the fake, you know, the hybrids were, no one appears in your court. That's why no one shows up. That was just practice. So that when it came, and those were real court actions too now. That those are real court actions that we did previously, because whether they show up or not, they're still subject. But if I had to go that way and go to the jail to get them to appear in court, then that's what we had to do, and that's what we did. But either way it goes, you're going to know that we're governing this land. You're going to know that we're governing this land and that the land belongs to us. And they know it now. And they've been known it. They've known that all along. They didn't just learn that just this year. They've known that since they got here. So for you know, Lord, if you ever are like nervous about them trying to, you know, thinking they're going to kidnap, take some court action to them. Give them what they are coming for, okay? Give them court actions. And then they'll think twice about talking about coming to get somebody. Because then they'll know. And see, the more of us that do it, they'll stop taking us. They'll stop taking us. Yes. No sandwiches. Y'all eat court action. I mean, you know, and that's, you know, I'm just saying. Let them know that anytime you think that you're going to take one of the Moors off of this landmass right here, that you're going to get court actions left and right. And we will sentence you to jail. And as we continue to stand and enforce the law and come together as law enforcement on the land, we can start issuing, because see, we've already started issuing commands for them to be in prison. You know, we've already started that. With our court actions, we say, this is a command for you to be arrested, detained in prison, you know, as justice for unlawful occupation of our land. So all of those court actions actually got, you know, into my spirit so that I just knew what to do and what to say. And that's how this works. Justice Dearmore, a definition of framing, this is what he put in the chat, a definition of framing, something added to supply defects in the thing to which it is added or in aid of which it is made. Yes. So either they're gonna add something to it which they're not supposed to do at all, and what they add to it is either going to cause it to be defective, and in their case, they can't add anything to it that's going to help. It's always going to be defective if they change one jot and one tittle. And jot and tittle is words from our ancient writings in the viddeo. But if they change one letter and make it a capital letter, it's defective. That's why we can't use capital letters, because it causes there to be a defect in the language. So, no capital letters, unless we're talking about that which is defective. And that's someone who's doing something on our land unlawfully. Or if they're a subject. So let's continue on with these documents. That's page 3 of 7. I just saw so many things in here that we have to make note of. Let's see, number 4, they had an evaluator, supposedly. They have a timing for the evaluation. We have to keep all of this in mind. We have to know to do these things. And of course, they didn't put any notes. The court finds good cause to extend the timing of evaluation and distribution of the report until block, and they didn't put anything there. Records. I found this interesting. In consideration of the urgent nature of this evaluation, it is ordered that all records requested by the evaluator shall be provided as soon as possible. But no, and again, I never saw any of this until after I was back at my domicile and actually had an opportunity to look, but they never brought this stuff to me or anything like that because they knew better, you know. Now, right here, this is important because we've always talked about the clerks, the ones doing business as clerks of court, and what role they play in, you know, all that's been going on. And we know that they're pivotal. They've played a pivotal role in this whole process of charging, arresting, detaining, and then releasing of citizens on the land. Okay. It says here, within 24 hours of the signing of this order, the clerk of the court shall provide this order and the charging documents, including the request for bail and certification of probable cause, to DSHS, which again, I never saw any of this, you know, and we never signed anything. We have not paid anything on anything, and we will not be doing any of that because again, this was to me just a time for us to learn. You know, it was just time for us to learn how to do what we need to do on the land. So they gave themselves some time spans in order to get things done. And I guess, let's see. They're just basically saying here what each person's role is. So the clerk of court provides a certain number of things and then notifies DSHS, which I don't know. I think that's Department of Social and Health Services, which I don't know what they would have to do with it, except that all departments of social health and health services, as well as child protective services, those are all part of this whole trafficking, human trafficking piece too. And that's why it's important for us, even if you don't have any heirs that they've been trying to traffic, just lien them anyway. Lien them out of business because they are, you know, you wouldn't even think that they had anything to do with any of this, but for some reason, the clerk has to provide them with some information, you know. So this just gives a job description, okay? Yes, it says adult protective services as well, okay. And I don't, you know, again, I don't know, we need to lien all of them. You know, I don't have anything to do with DSHS, but I know they, you know, and I know more that have liens in here as well. So they have definitely been liens, but they have some role in all of this. And this is where trafficking of the heirs, a lot of times it starts there in those processes. But we have to keep all of this in mind because as we continue to move forward, the children have to be kept in mind too. Okay? And that's including, you know, foreign hybrid children. They have to be kept in mind too because we don't want any, you know, we don't want anything going on our land where anyone is harmed. We don't want the animals harmed, we don't want the hybrids harmed, and we're not going to have the Moorishe harmed any longer. And that's why we're proceeding like we're proceeding right now. Yes, in the chat, that entire system is human trafficking. Yes, it is. Keep in mind, the heirs are not human. And I'll let you do your own study on who we really are. We are the gods of the land, you know. And that's how come the system does not speak our language. It only speaks corporate English. It does not even speak ancient English. It doesn't speak in red and all lowercase letters at all. Because it's not, we're not even supposed to be in this system. You know? And so the only reason that we've been going in and out of it is because we need to learn it. And when we learn it, guess what? We don't have to keep going in there unless we just want to learn something else. And if I decide I want to learn something else and I feel like I have to go in and learn it, I'll go back in. After I saw them yield where our court actions are concerned, all fear is gone. I don't have any fear of that system. I don't have any fear of them at all. There's a little bit of programming still there because we've been programmed all of our lives with that. But I know what to do now. You know, I know what to do. And when we know what to do, we're unstoppable, period. Make them stand, all rise and stand, and then do your Article 3 court action and ask them their names and do the, the do you understand questions and cast a few spells at the end. It's a wrap. It's a wrap. So they said something about the next hearing date is scheduled for February 17th, and again, I didn't go to any of that because they were talking to me, but it's good to see this because we will know then how scheduling goes. They had the same day that I came in, they had a court thing for the corpse, but of course we turned that around and did a court action on them instead, which is how we're supposed to do. Within that same day, I did a court action on them and didn't hear from them anymore, the fake court. So we just have to be willing to do whatever needs to be done in order to get the answers we need so that we can govern our estate competently and peacefully. And if you look right here, the parties have not made any immunity agreement, blah, blah, blah. I don't know how they expect courts to make an agreement unless someone says I'm the court. But if we don't say we're the court, there's no anything, no nothing. And then stay of proceedings, they put a check box here all times from the entry of this order and during the examination period until this court interest in order finding the defendant to be competent to proceed is excluded from the calculation of time for trial and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I don't, another something where they decided that they were going to stay proceedings until their court is found competent to proceed. And again, a court. And then right here, I found this interesting. They didn't check this, but it says the case is at the post-sentencing stage. Jurisdiction is tolled, P-O-L-L-E-D. And I'm going to have to look into that and see what that's really all about. We know what a toll is. A toll is where it's like a toll booth. In order to cross it, you have to pay something. But I don't know what this means right here. Jurisdiction is tolled, T-O-L-L-E-D. I don't know what that means because, again, they never got jurisdiction over the living, and the living never paid anything or any of that because all we did was just continue to tax them and do court actions on them. And we told them we're going to teach them the Constitution, and they're going to learn it, and they'll learn it or they'll go to jail, period. So, and then there's that same cut-off signature that they clearly they just, hand stamped. They got this black stamp, and they stamp the signature on there, and then they make a copy of it because, again, there was no wet ink signature on any of this. But if they know that they're talking to a corpse, then I guess they don't have to put wet ink signatures on anything because it's a corpse you're talking to, and corpses can't even read because they're dead. So again, these are learning tools. That's the only thing I can think of is I know it's just amazing that they've been passing this off as real documents, and we've been falling for it. There's nothing real about this. Nothing. No seal, no stamp, no wet ink signature, no nothing. There's nothing real about it. So to me, this is simply a learning tool. It's just something for us to learn because we already know that all of our documents have a wet ink signature in red in all lowercase letters and stamps and seals and thumbprint, bright red thumbprint, you know. And so, you know, it's like for so long we thought that this stuff was real, and now we're finding out that, no, it's not. It's all fake. It's fake. Very, very fake. I mean, they couldn't open the door unless I said it's okay to open the door. And they supposedly had the key. But in our records, in our ancient writings, it is Isaiah 22:22, I believe it is, that says that we were going to have the keys to the empire, and when we open doors, no man can shut them, and when we close the door, no man can open it. I saw that when I was in there. I'm standing on this side of the courtroom cell. They're out there with keys jingling on their belt, and they couldn't come in unless I said they could come in. I mean, to me, you can't do that. It's just, there's no way. So, you know, again, I look at the paperwork and I just think, okay, this is a learning tool. This is showing us what to do and what not to do. You know. So, let's see, and then here, down here, this was page 6 or 7, and there was no signature or anything down here past the one doing business as Judge Pro Tem, Terry R. Lucan, and there was no signature there. This is not a signature. That's not a signature. It's not wet ink. And you can't be copying somebody's signature because she could have been in Alaska somewhere. But we know she's not real. She's whoever that is. And then they have some things here. But again, let's go to the bottom of the page. No signatures anywhere here on all of this stuff. No signatures at all. And that is page 7 of 7. Now, the only way, let me see, just a moment because I see something in the chat. Let's see, in the chat it says, told, thelaw.com. Thank you, Justice Gilmore. Black's Law Dictionary, 2nd edition says told, that's T-O-L-L-E-D. It says to delay, to hold off the effect of a law or statute, such as the statute of limitation. So they decided with their courts that they were going to hold off on their court, which is similar to what we did recently with our court actions, where we held over our last 2 court actions that we did. One was on the, I believe it was on the Postmaster General. The one doing business is Postmaster General. Well, he can't be Postmaster General if all the lawyers are Postmaster Generals, which we are. So he can't do anything. And then we just held over our judgment, our justice, until we did a little more research, because we're doing some more research on that. And those of you who are on social media, like the Jury Bay page, you can see that this past week I did a whole lot of the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine, Postmaster General duties here at ancient Morocco, where we hand-delivered a lot of our mailings out this week with regard to all that is going on our land. We've begun, because we're the Universal Postal Union. We're the post office here. And so we deliver our own documents out here in the territory. And then if there's anything that needs to go to D.C. or any of the other, ones doing business as whatever, to notify them that they have court actions or whatever, then we send it through the Postal Service, but we send them down first or send them up first. So even on the outside of our documents, we put all rise and stand on the outside of our envelope, just in case, so that it gets through the mailings, and we've not had any issues with our mailings going out of here thus far. So I see, thank you, Justice Yearmore, for told. And see, T-O-L-L-E-D and T-O-L-D, those are the same words. They sound like they mean a little different. They don't. Anything that was told, like a story was told or a lie was told, or the law was told, there's a price for everything that we say. And we're the creditor, so that means other people are paying instead of us. And it's up to us to be just in all that we say, so that we don't toll or tax the people, on our land. Our land is supposed to actually be a beautiful, pleasant, heavenly place to be. Even for the animals. The squirrels and the lions and the tigers and the monkeys and everybody's supposed to be happy to be here. And they will be as we continue to govern our land competently. There was a time when everyone wanted to be here, when the Moors were in charge of everything and ruling and governing and reigning like we're supposed to and like we're doing. And as we continue to stand, they're going to want to be here some more. And they'll know that when they come here, they're not going to be violated by foreigners on the land, pretending to be American and pretending to be the heirs. Now, I want to show you this last document here, and then I'll show you one other document. So, remember I told you they had to get me out of there. They didn't even really care what they said or how they got me out of there, because they were not, my test was over, number one. Number two, I had already told the ancestors, no matter what, I'm going to stand. And number three, I had proven beyond any doubt that I was not the court. So what did they do? They did what they call here a medical furlough order, and that's in black. Now, I want you to notice quickly here. Notice, please, that they put City of Federal Way in black ink here as a subject, and they put Pauline D hyphen or minus sign Ritchie in blue. In blue. That told me something. That when we do this, we will do it where the Moorish government, whether it be the city government or the land, just the land government, the territory government, the reservation government, whichever we choose to call the jurisdiction of our police, and really we're just the land, all natural resources, all commerce, so we're all one. But we will put ours in red and all lowercase letters, and then for the citizen subject, theirs is going to be in blue like this, in blue in capitis diminutio minima. But again, remember, this is important. This person here in blue is not the same person that's up here in all capital letters. Let's go back up to the top and look at what they have in capital letters here. Pauline Denise Ritchie in all capital letters in black ink right here on the screen. That's a corpse that they're practicing their law on, or whatever you know, and I'm saying that with a little, like, in air quotes, because that's not real law. But that is not the same as this. This is a subject right here. That's a subject. But this is an agent, principal, or the all caps is agent, principal, heir, assigned, or any derivative thereof of this. You see? Not the same, but a derivative thereof. Okay? And here they say, City of Federal Way inmate, Ritchie, let's see. Yes, in the chat. Yes, they just, you know, Empress Portia, they was just like, you know what? She is exactly who she said she is. We got the wrong one. I don't care how you get her out of here, but she got to get out of here. Because them court actions, I'm not going to jail. And we'll just look out for the constitutional class or whatever, but get her out of here. So they said here, some other, the City of Federal Way inmate called Ritchie, Pauline D, DOB 8368, currently being held at Score Jail for false statement to a public servant times 2 and criminal trespass second, requires transport to an off-site medical facility for emergency medical treatment. So something was going on with their court, and they were concerned. The Federal Way Police Department, along with Score Jail, has determined that the inmate's medical needs necessitate their immediate release from Score Jail so that the inmate can be given the best possible medical care. So again, they're showing us what happens if there's a medical emergency where we can send them off-site to a medical facility for immediate medical care. I didn't go to, the living did not go to a medical treatment place. I came to my domicile. But they sent the subject and the court, they sent them to emergency medical treatment somewhere, which I don't know what that is unless it's Guantanamo Bay. And then it says here, by signing below, the inmate agrees to appear for a hearing at the Federal Way Municipal Court Room 3 on March 3rd, 2021 at 1:15. Failure to appear on that date and time may result in a no bail warrant issued for defendant's arrest. A summons will be sent by the court to the inmate's last known address if the inmate is unable to sign and acknowledge receipt of this document. Okay, so we know they're not talking about us. We know that. We also know that right here by signing below, and let's just see that no one, they didn't even sign the document. They didn't even sign their own document because they know that it's just a learning tool for the Moors. Because the Moors are not autographing anything. They know that. So here it says, yeah, they said something about a March 3rd, 2021 at 1:15, and of course we don't see it. You know, they weren't talking to us, so we didn't do anything of the sort of going anywhere. What we did do, though, was we sent a lien. We did a court action, and you can see the court action, and the court action was done on the 2nd of March, I believe. And I can put a link to that court action in the chat. Let me see. I'll put a link to the court action that we did. in the chat on, I believe, March the 2nd, we did a court action, and it was also a foreclosure and liquidation of anything that they're claiming in the way of property, so that they can go ahead and clear on out. Just a moment. Let me see. Hang on just a second. Okay, I don't know what this is. I'm trying to get to the link to the video. Maybe if I could, I could just put it. I'm going to YouTube. And I'll put the link to, okay, we'll go here. The link to the court action in the chat. Let's see. And that way I can make sure that I'm quoting the right date that we did the court action. It's posted at Light to Jury Base. Yes, it was 3 days ago. Actually, it was done on March 3rd. Yeah. Just a second. Let me. Okay, got it. They didn't even ask Justice Juramore. They didn't even ask. The only thing they ever said was, I know why you're doing what you're doing. And then one of the other fake policy enforcers was like, is it Moors or Murs? You know, M-U-U-R-S or M-O-O-R-S? And I'm like, well, you've been doing your research, haven't you? That's what I was thinking, but of course I didn't say anything. Let's see. I want to be sure that we see the document. I don't know why this.
And red rises to the process on the humanity. After the body here. All right.
Oops. Just a moment, as I'm trying to get back to the right page. Okay. Just a moment. Okay, there we go. Okay, now we're back to the right page. Okay. And of course, you know, they're saying, you know, by finding below, the inmate agrees to appear for a hearing at the Federal Way Municipal Court in 3 on March 1st. And my thing about this too is they're saying something about a hearing at the Federal Way Municipal Court Room 3 for their court. Corpses can't hear, so I don't know why they say things like that, because it's almost, it's truly an oxymoron. But again, here at the bottom, you know, no one put anything. They didn't sign anything. Their corpse didn't even sign anything, not to mention, you know, their, whatchamacallit. Just one moment. Oh, we got a little bit of, we got a little bit of something we need to put out of here. They don't. Here, let me put you out. Goodbye. Okay. So, needless to say, we have this more, I mean, you know, They used to say, oh, your lanes don't work, this don't work, that don't work. They don't say anything close to that anymore. No, nowhere close to that. They don't say anything like that anymore. Because they see that everything that we do is working. So now I wanted to take just a moment also and show you another set of documents. It's just a 2-page document with regard to just a moment. Let me see. And I put the link to it in here. Let me just see if I can. Here it is. Okay. I'm going to bring it up on. Yeah, I got him just as deal. I videoed him out of here. They're pretty mad, you know. And that's okay, but still all rise and stand. Still, all rise and stand. Let's look at this one document because I wanted to show you where earlier in the call I was telling you that that even going with them is oh good, it's already up here. Can you all see this document? It says Department of Licensing Summary of Citizen Arrest. Can you all see that document on the screen? Okay. Okay. I was doing some, as we're moving into this, thank you in the chat. I'm glad you can see it. As we're moving into looking at how we're going to continue turning the, having the transition happen peacefully, where law enforcement is in the hands of the Moors. Yes, I see. I'm gonna cut this one a little bit short because, and I did put a link to it in here. That's a link to the video. But I wanted to just show you all really quickly that going with them, when they come and say, oh, you're under arrest, that's voluntary. So what I did was I looked up citizens arrest because, the way they first started is when the Moors went to sleep and stopped governing the land and all of that, the citizens were saying, okay, well, what do we do if crime happens? And they were like, well, we're going to have to do citizens arrest and just arrest each other until the Moors, we can only arrest each other. So they put a system together slowly over time. They started out with paper system and then they moved to electronic systems. And they only made their system for citizens. That's how come Moors are not supposed to be in that system. We were always supposed to have our own system. And we've always had our own system, really. We just weren't using it, but we're using it now. And so they would do citizens arrest on one another. And then somebody got to be a little bit, since the Moors were not really, we weren't doing what we're doing now. They said, well, the Moors are using capital letters and they banking like they're saying they're citizens and they're getting all the stuff we get. They banking like we're banking and they're using both systems. They're using the fiat system and the gold system, or they're using the fiat system and, so if they're going to say that they're citizens, then we can arrest them. So we just need to see a contract in the system that says that the Moors agree to be the citizens, like a bank account. Okay? And if they agree to be that corpse, because see, again, let's be clear about this. We have sovereign resource accounts that were formerly, and I can't even say formally bank accounts, because those are two different things. But when we were asleep, we had bank accounts. We thought we were citizens. But then when we woke up, we said, wait a minute, I'm not a citizen. So I'm going to terminate the corporate contract with that bank account, and I'm going to give it a new name because it's property of the sovereign. So now it's not a bank account, it's a sovereign resource account. And corporations don't govern it, we do. And that is how we got out of that capitalist system, is terminate all capitalism, presumed capitalism corporate contracts. that start with the birth certificate that has capital letters on it. So we started there, and then they started there. The citizens were saying, okay, well, if they're agreeing to be citizens, that means we can arrest them whenever we feel like it. And after a while, they were like, they let us get away with that. They agreed to be the citizens. So let's just focus on them. Let's arrest them because our signatures aren't really worth anything, but theirs are. That means we can eat for 150 years. You know, and this is let's say 1913, we'll put the Federal Reserve Act in place. And if they agree to use that money instead of their sovereign gold money, then that means they're agreeing to be us. And guess what? We can pretend to be them. And we'll arrest them. And when our little Johnny does some killing and some stealing, we'll just push little Johnny off to the side under the rug and make sure it stays out of the news. And we can keep our little Johnny safe while we arrest the Moors and just put them on blast and put their photos all over the news and all of that. You know. And that's what they did. And guess what we did? Remain mute. We didn't say anything. We didn't lean. We didn't teach our children to lean them if they get bothered by, if our heirs are bothered by them. We didn't say heirs, lean them, and then you're the justice, take them to court, your court. And if they come in your face, do a court action on them. We didn't tell our heirs that, but now we can tell them. Now we can tell them and show them how to do it. And it only takes 2 minutes to do a court action. So I'm going to bring this all to a close because we're just a little over 2 hours, and I don't want to go any longer than 2 hours. I like to keep it at the most 2 hours. But I want to show you in this citizen arrest document, and I'll put the link to this document in the chat again. Here's a link to it to the PDF online, so you can just look at it. It's only a 2-page document, but it says under, and this is for the court. This is not even for the state of Washington Corporation. This was done at quote unquote Washington State, not the state of Washington Corporation. But see, Washington State is still not us, so it's still, you know, to us it's still fraud. But anyway, citizens arresting Washington State. Under Washington law, a private person can conduct a citizen's arrest for a misdemeanor if the misdemeanor, number 1, was committed in the citizen's presence, and number 2, constituted a breach of the peace. And then let me show you here right quick where our judges and our justices come in at. Because see, now that we are waking up the subjects and saying, all rise and stand now, pay attention to this more because this is important. This is how come all Moors are judges and justices and consuls. Listen to this. It says here, they have a little colon statute, but we're going to put it in red in all lowercase letters. Provide here, right here, provides for a citizen's arrest at the direction of a district court judge as follows. Arrest. Offense committed in view of a district judge. Now this goes for the Moors because if there's an offense committed in front of us, this is what applies. When any offense is committed in view of a sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine justice, that justice may, by verbal direction to any deputy, or if no deputy is present, to any citizen, cause such deputy or citizen to arrest such offender and keep such offender in custody for the space of 1 hour, unless such offender shall sooner be taken from such custody by virtue of a warrant issued on complaint on oath. And we wouldn't do oath, we would just affirm a command, an arrest command like we've been doing. Now remember, this is nothing new. We've been doing court action. Okay? So we can tell other citizens, hey, subject, all rise and stand, arrest that one right there. Okay? And again, we're not going to go out right now and do any knee-jerk reactions because we're going to do our study and we're going to be competent. Because again, even then, but such person so arrested shall not be confined in jail nor put upon any trial until arrested by virtue of such warrant. So we would actually have to whoever the justice is, we have 1 hour to do the arrest command and state what they did, and then they can go to jail and stand trial. And now, yes, Empress Portia, that's important. She put in the chat, yes, they try to tell you not to take the law in your own hands, but we are the law. See, just like that jail piece, they're going to try and put scarecrows up in front of what we should be doing. But when we realize how powerful we are, then those old tired spells won't even, you know, when they come on and they, oh, you're going to jail, I'd be like, shut up. Been there and done that and submitted all y'all in there. So you can go say that in the mirror. Now we're on to, okay, it's our turn to do what we need to do here. And again, we're not going to run out today and we're going to do our study first to be sure that as we continue moving in the direction of governing our land, you have to raise the subjects from the dead before you can tell them to do something. See, this is the crazy part that I didn't know that's coming clear to me now. Even while we're having this conversation, while I was in the score place on our land, and I was doing court actions, do you know I could have had them arresting each other? I could have said, now, all rise and stand, and then put them in their place with the court action, and then as a court command, tell them, now you arrest them, or that you all arrest him because he's the one that's supposed to be doing all this stuff. I could have told them that and they would have done it. They would not breach, okay? Yes, they would have done it because they would not breach the courtroom cell that I was in. And that was because they were risen from the dead first, and they were automatically in subject status when they were risen from the dead, automatically in subject status. Islam. Can you all hear me? You know, as soon as we're talking about what I could have done, they was like, cut that call, cut the call, cut it off. I could have told them to arrest one another, and they would have had to do it. They would have had to do it because they couldn't even do what they came there to do when I did a court action on them. So that is why it's important for the judges and justices who are the Moorish American consulate judges and justices. It's going to be important for us to get in our proper status and all that we need to do so that we, so that at the least we stay protected on our land. Okay, because we have always had a standing army. We just did not stand them up. I've heard that before. We have a standing army. I've heard more, people say that before. We have a standing army already. The ancestors even said, y'all have a standing army. And I'm like, okay, is it up? Do we just stand up? And the ancestors like, yeah, you stand up. Now you got to stand up. But there's an army too. And when you stand them up, they will stand up and do what you tell them. That's what the subjects have been waiting for. So let me show you one more thing, and then we'll come to a close here, because I could talk about this all day. This is the second page. This last part is very, very important too. It says, instruction on lawful arrest and prosecution for third-degree assault arising from defendant's resistance to apprehension by store personnel did not improperly state the law, although language was taken from statute which sets forth, let me see, is that what I wanted to see? I'm a law, right, citizen arrest, which permits. Okay, that's not what, because it went into like a citizen, an example of what a citizen's arrest would be about. While Washington has no statute concerning citizens' arrest generally, RCW blah, blah, blah provides that the common law is applicable where not repugnant to the provisions of the state constitution or statute. Okay, there was something in one of the documents that I saw about citizens' arrest that said that even being arrested is voluntary. Oh, here it is. I think this is it too. Yeah, this is it. And this is more on Washington. This one is on www.atg.wa.gov. And it's about citizens' arrest. Here, let me see if I can get this on the screen too, because I want to. Okay, hold on for a minute. Let me get them out of here, Jeremiah, because they don't really want to hear what we're saying. This is the part that, you know. You out of here, get out of here. Yeah, okay. Okay. All right. So let me just look at this. I wanted to show you all this document or this website really quickly. This is Washington State Office of the Attorney General website on arrest for misdemeanor by citizen or officer. First, look at this sentence right here really quickly. An officer may not arrest a person without a warrant on information or suspicion for a misdemeanor not committed in his presence. And they've been doing that. Okay, they've been arresting people without a warrant, you know, not, you know, without actually seeing anything happen and all that. So those are things we cannot do. Okay. And then one other thing that I want to show you, and then we'll if you have any questions, we'll answer questions, and if not, we'll close out for now. But we did need to go over this. In an opinion dated July 31st, 1928, to the Chief of the Highway Patrol, and notice this is in capitis diminutio without capital letters, but it's still black ink. It was stated that every citizen has the right to arrest any person, and again, we're not persons, whom he actually observes in the act of committing a misdemeanor. Every citizen has the right to arrest any person. Okay? And then one other thing, let's see. Let's see. He said something here. Look through this page because there are some things on this page too, and I'll put the link to this page in here. And again, these are just guidelines that we are using. Right, Justice Moore. None of these are Moors. None of these. So we're not even talking about the Moors. The Moors cannot be arrested by citizens. But it's up to us to, first of all, come out of the citizen system by terminating all presumed citizen corporate contracts. And here, let me put the link to this page in the chat. There it is in the chat. And then let's see. If a crime is actually being committed in one's presence, a person, whether he be a peace officer or not, has the power to arrest without warrant. And they cite here where all of this is coming from. Let's see. So just take a look over this page because it's going to say something in this page. Oh, I believe it was this page about, you know, that anyone has to be willing to be arrested in order for the arrest to take place. You actually have to be willing to be arrested by them. You have to consent to being arrested. Yes, Justice Moore, that is correct. When Noble Drew Ali refers to citizens, he's referring to those risen subjects. Yes, he is. He was not referring to the dead stuff that's walking around out there that's refusing to come to life when we have already risen, telling them all rise and stand. And that's why we have to keep doing it everywhere we go. If they say something about a mask, all rise and stand. This is a sovereign living Article 3 Moorish American consular court action. I am sovereign living justice, and say your appellations in capitis, diminutio, nolo, in red ink, and proprio. Go through the whole thing on them. Let them know that they're in your court right now because they're on your land. I'm telling you, it's going to stop so much of the foolishness going on this land. So do some more research on citizens' arrest so that you'll know that if the citizens have the authority to arrest one another, then how much more the heirs? Especially when we're organized and peaceful and well put together and everything is strategized and well thought out, which is what we're doing. And our thought begins with the treaty and the Constitution, in red in all lowercase letters, and that's under some of these videos on here on Light to Jury Bay channel on YouTube. You look under there and get those documents out because they're there. We can do this. If the citizens can do it, they were able to do it back in the day. That's how they got started. And then one day they decided, okay, if we're going to be doing citizens arresting citizens, we need to get uniforms so that they will know that we're not just, you know, that we're not unorganized, but that we're in alignment with the Constitution, which says a well-organized militia. A well-organized militia. And that's where the right to bear arms comes in. And if you are not a well-organized militia and you're not the heirs, you should not be bearing arms. That's constitutional. So, with that being said, we have gone a little long. I appreciate your patience and all that.
You're crazy.
Are there any questions? Are there any questions at all from the heirs?
Yeah. When are you going to take in?
Are there any questions? I said from the heirs. You all are not heirs. Are there any questions from the real heirs and not the fake ones?
When are you going to take inventory on?
The real heirs, Islam. Okay. If you have any questions, heirs, send me a text message and we will we'll address it at whenever our next law enforcement summit is, and that's probably going to be in a few weeks. But we're going to do some more things where the Constitution is concerned. And
go take inventory on First Avenue, Pauline.
Where the Constitution is concerned and all of that. boy, with that being said, all peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine.
It's been proven to be a
Grand rising.
grand rising.
Grand rising.
And it's been proven to be a Nazi. You know what I'm saying? The Nazi. Like Hitler's time.
Islam here.
They had to infiltrate the United States. And the Bushes, their name was not always spelled like that. They're German.
Yes, if they thank you, Islam.
From that area.
I see you in the chat. Empress Tatali and Empress Khalifa, the two of you definitely to hook up. So, because you're both in Khalifa territory, okay? So, Khalifa, when you call, will you call me so that I can give you, so that I can coordinate you and Empress Tatali connecting?
See, this
Empress
is on
Tatali, you
Bluetooth.
can call me too.
And the last time I was on Bluetooth, it was the interference like this, and then it just cut off altogether.
Islam.
Back in.
Islam.
See what they're doing?
Islam Empress. With that, peace and grand rising to the air. Islam.